Hello. I was not going to video today, but then was thinking. So driving around downtown, BLAK-AK-AK-AKAK. Yeah, you probably don't get the. Never mind. You should just start this over. I ruined it with a meme. No, let's go. We're doing it live. Okay, we're doing it live. Driving around. Halloween. So, you're driving in this vicinity, and there's Halloween decorations and stuff. And after we started going to church and getting into Jesus and the Bible, it's like, maybe this Halloween thing's not that great. Like, we're not even too big on gift giving during Christmas. I was like, this does not contribute to our faith in any way. So, like, why would we bother doing it? Further, it seems to be quite counter to it. And as someone who has, in the past, for most of my life, actually just really enjoyed Halloween, it's like, is that really true? I like to question these things. I like to ask myself. I like to revisit decisions weeks or months after making them. And it's like, okay, with the knowledge I have now, like, would I make a different decision? And the answer is usually not. But on fun times, it's I would change my mind. Anyways, I was thinking about it, and I'm looking at Halloween, and it's like, okay, and I see the decorations, and it's like, there's a jack-o'-lantern, yeah. So there's a dead body sitting in the lawn, like okay. It's like a bloody ski mask slasher hiding behind the tree. It's like skeletons hanging from the trees and ghosts, and it's like, is this not a celebration of death, like a worshipping of death? Like, I get that there's like the Halloween, the Mexican Day of the Dead, where they kind of celebrate the death as a cycle of life, and celebrate the dead, the people who have died. But we're just hanging demons in our yard. They're like, no, it's just it's a fun thing for kids to do. Are you sure? To be able to I understand that it is a difficult thing to be able to step back from yourself and view yourself objectively, but I don't know how you can look at Halloween and be like, this is not a celebration of death. This is not a celebration of demons. It's just, like a fun thing that we're doing. Lol. We're just messing around. The other thing is just the smell test of it. And the smell test is extremely important because you can't, you have to stop and remember to do the smell test. So if you get introduced to something new, it's like, oh, this is new and different. Like, what do I think about it? Let me consider it. Let me, the smell test is like your immediate reaction, kind of your gut reaction, or if something just seems kind of off, you're like, I don't know about this. You open up ostensibly it's, you open up the leftovers from the refrigerator and you give it a sniff. Not sure about that. Or you give it the smell test and you're like, seems all right. It's kind of wishy-washy, but it's like, you know it when you smell it. You know it when you see it. And if it's something new, like I said, you'll usually perform the smell test. But if it's something that you've grown up with, if it's something that's accepted socially, something you've done for a long time, it's important to stop and step back from yourself and say, hey, why don't we give this a smell test real quick? Like, how would you describe the event or person or holiday to a complete outsider who doesn't understand it? Like, then you actually have to describe the elements of it and the practice of it. And if you find yourself kind of cringing as you describe the thing that you're saying is just fine, it's okay, then hey presto, you might be thinking of it the wrong way. Well, that's kind of weird. Yeah, so thinking about the so Kentucky plates are 3 numbers and then 3 letters, and that is a standard non-personalized plate. So 3 numbers, 3 letters, which gives you, plenty of combinations. 999 plus 26 to the 26th power. Is that right? I think that's right. I don't know. And there's new Kentucky plates. I've seen 2 at this point. This is the second one. And I've just noticed that there's letters and then numbers. So they've cleverly maintained kind of a scheme, but they've also made it so that the updated plate has... It just looks like paper, too. It looks kind of weird. So they get a whole new set of numbers and a different format. And I guess the only thing they could do after that is go all letters, or letters and numbers for each position. It's kind of interesting. Wonder how that works out. I'm just like thinking about database structure and like search fields and possible plates. How many plates are possible with the combinations? How many valid combinations are possible? Goodness, you just can't turn it off. Halloween, like when you step back and you describe it, you're like, I don't. Now that I think about it, I don't know if this is okay. And it's hard not to see it at this point. Halloween for a long time, at least in America or in Western cultures, is just like an opportunity for women to dress skimpily and get male attention, or people to, a holiday to get drunk. And aside from that, you're just dressing kids up like, I guess you could dress them up like characters, like their favorite characters. I don't even know how I feel about dressing up and pretending to be something else, but then you go around and get candy. Is the candy much better? I don't know. When you describe it, it just, not only does it not add to anything in Christendom, it actively detracts from many of the elements and confuses them. So it's like, obviously for me, the answer is no. Or for us, the answer is no. But, like, what's everyone else doing besides worshiping death? Or, a cult or witchcraft or whatever thing that they're like, oh, we're just playing. We're just playing, lol. Haha. Huh. We're just messing around. I don't know. There's too many things, too much evil that's packaged as, so much fun, just messing around these days, that it's hard to not look at Halloween objectively and be like, why do we do this again? Why is this okay? And I don't, you can take there are some churches that do Halloween celebrations and stuff like that. The kids will dress up, but, nothing, I don't know, I guess it would probably be in poor taste to show up at your trunk or treat, which is where you park a bunch of cars and then open your trunks and then dispense candy out of the trunks, as if kids were going door to door in a neighborhood. And that's a symptom of a disease right there, a completely different one. But yeah, it would probably be in poor taste to show up at the church trunk or treat with your devil costume. But like, it just drives home the point. It's like, well, what is it we're celebrating here exactly? And can you disassociate the event from the context or the connotations? If you have a Christian Halloween and there's no devils and you can only dress up as church saints or you know, animals or something. I don't even know what you would, what rules you would have, because I think it's a silly idea, but like, how much can you disassociate it and say, oh, don't worry, it's not really Halloween, but we're still using the word? Like, I don't think that's, like, why would you even entertain that? That's the other thing, is like the smell test on some of these, on some of the shows. Like, imagine, I don't know, media is a weird thing for me. It's called, what's it called? Maya calls it dynamic media. And dynamic media is essentially a sensory overload, because you're trying to replace or supplant enough of your senses to kind of trick your brain into thinking that you are there. And there is some science to the idea of, or the concept of mirror neurons, which is the part of your brain views an experience and believes that they're partaking in it. You know, it's like you watch the action movie and the action hero is running and jumping and doing all these things, and you're literally just sitting in a movie theater. But part of your brain thinks, wow, I'm doing this. I'm experiencing this. That's me. I'm doing these cool things. And that's got to be super confusing for your brain when you have, you know, dreams and memories. Memories, conscious and subconscious, are much more malleable than we care to believe, and that bears out a lot. You know, memories get mixed up very easily, and offering your brain up on a platter to a movie or a dynamic media experience is well, it just seems like a bad idea. But what I was getting at is, if you're consuming media, you know, watching a TV show or something, and I guess the proverbial your mom walks in and looks and says, "What is this you're watching?" And you have to describe it, you know, or you can say, if you want to go even more fastidious, you could probably go grandma. If we're talking about like boomer parents here, they're like, "Oh boy, a sex scene, awesome." But like, this is something that you would have to explain. It's like, oh well, no. The reason there's a lot of gratuitous violence here is because of, you know, X, Y, and Z. And I don't know, maybe it's just because I've become more aware of the art of music and the art of cinematography, and the art of photography in particular has been extremely enlightening, because so much gets absorbed by a picture that you don't even realize what the photograph is trying to convey, what the artist, what the photographer is trying to convey. You know, I would even go so far as to say before, it's like, oh, you're just taking a picture. It's the content of the picture that's beautiful. It's not the photographer that's skilled. That's absolutely not the case. Absolutely not. There's so much that goes into it. And once you start to look at those elements, you start to realize how you're being controlled, how your mind is being controlled, how your thought process is being controlled, or at least not so subtly diverted to a certain direction by something as simple as a photograph. You know, there's a lot of subconscious elements to you observing, especially human beings, but also situations and events. And I'm referring to like professional photography, not just like, hey, here's a photo that was taken during a riot, with it's kind of blurry, and there's 2 photos of the entire 4-minute event, and here's this one is kind of misleading. I'm not talking about the content. I'm talking about how a shot is framed, how a subject is lit and set up, all of it. It's almost cinematographical elements that go into building, creating a photo before you actually click the shutter release. And when you start to see that stuff, you start to realize the intent of the artist behind the creation. Now, you can also look at, you can look at marketing, get more information about marketing, and get more information about directing movies, or even advertisements, commercials, directing commercials, which I guess is a form of marketing anyways. But you start to understand how many subtle cues, subtle elements are at play in something as simple as like a hamburger ad or something. So when you start to notice those things, I've said it before, it's just hard to unnotice them. You can't unnotice them. And you can't say, you know, is this... You can't... you know, before you used to be able to question the intent. You'd be able to say, well, you know, that's kind of what I'm getting from this. And you might not even know that you're getting something from it, but it's kind of what I'm getting from this, but is that really what the artist intended? And at that point, you can at least technically answer that question and say, well, according to these elements of the photograph, according to these elements of the video, according to the shot direction and the lighting, yes, clearly, that is exactly what they're trying to achieve here. So it removes a lot of the question from that. The question of whether or not those things are of value or have value, or can be used for used to accomplish, you know, the good, the beautiful, and the true, remains to be seen. You know, it probably varies by piece, but my relationship with media is very strange. So I don't know. It's kind of unexpected. Maybe I could talk about that another time. Halloween's weird, yo.